Okay, it looks like we are live. We are live on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. This is exciting. This is, my first time using some of this and going to all of these different streams. So, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Recap Tuesday. Well, actually, now we're calling it Thoughts and Coffee, but generally at this time, we are posting about my Recap Tuesday, and we're talking all about what's going on at Let's Talk Supply Chain for the week. But I thought that we would expand it into a live stream and talk about all sorts of things, because I'm not just all about supply chain. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a stepmom to some amazing kids. I'm a sports fan. I'm a gamer. I'm an auntie, and I'm a fur mama. So I thought that we could talk about not only supply chain, what's coming up on Let's Talk Supply Chain, but also mindset, entrepreneurship. This live stream is not only inspired by my Recap Tuesday, but it's also inspired by my Sunday post as well. So I'm just going to go on LinkedIn and make sure that we are live, but I don't see it, of course. Maybe I did something wrong. Hopefully I didn't do something wrong. But with me today is Audrey. Audrey Ross is my trade bestie, and she decided to join me for the very first Thoughts and Coffee episode to talk about all things she doesn't even know, because I actually asked her to join yesterday, and I have not given her any time to prep. So this is going to be a lot of fun. Oh, we are live on LinkedIn. Yay. Hello, everybody. We are happy to see you this morning. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to start it off with, and I'm going to share my screen because we've got a lot to talk about today. There's a lot of hot topics happening in supply chain. I shared a Thoughts and Coffee post on Sunday that's getting a lot of thoughts. And of course, here we go. So here is the post that I put up on Sunday. Did you see this, Audrey?
I did.
You did? Did you read it? Oh, by the way, everybody, I got a new mug just for this occasion. It's a Canada mug, so you know where I'm coming in from. Audrey and I are both in Canada, so just wanted to represent, because I know we've got a lot of people that are tuning in globally, which is awesome. So on Sunday, I wrote this post. I've been writing a Thoughts and Coffee post every Sunday morning for quite a few weeks. And, it's about mindset. It's about success mindset. It's about thoughts and coffee. Some of it's about, I did one on gratitude. Last week, I also did one on my journey to speaking in public, because I have been terrified of speaking in public for years. And Audrey knows this about me. Like, for years, like, my hands would sweat. I would forget what I was going to say. I did not want to stand up or even walk through a room. Like, there was a time that I didn't even want to walk through the room. And so not this past Sunday, but the Sunday before, I posted a video, which was a dog food commercial. And I did this dog food commercial because I ended up getting a talent agent because I knew I wouldn't voluntarily sign up for Toastmasters. And so I went on all these auditions, and I totally bombed. But through that experience, I was able to laugh at myself. And I got on live TV with Denise Richards a couple of times. And I was part of this dog food commercial, which was pretty epic, I'm going to say. So Audrey, what do you do when you're terrified of speaking in public? Because I know you were kind of in my shoes. I don't know if you were as terrified as I was. I know I kind of pushed you as my trade bestie. I was like, go and do this, go and do that, go and do this. So how did you get over it?
Well, I don't know. I have grandparents who are public speakers. And so I'm the oldest grandchild, and I was I'd get, you're going to say something in front of this crowd, or, it's our family anniversary party and you're going to say something. So, I'd kind of been pushed into it quite a bit as a kid. And I think you go through these kinds of transition periods, and I'd kind of fallen out of doing it or just fallen out of some of my confidence. And yeah, a couple of years ago, when I met you, there were just these kinds of different opportunities. I think the kind of hallmark one for me was emceeing a conference or a little like a day-long seminar. And it was completely, it was that, you know, that uncomfortable, like, how am I going to do this? And why did I say yes to this? What have I done moment?
Right? I think I've had so many
yeah,
of those.
Yeah. Literally, I like they wake up the morning of and it's like you're the sweats and you're kind of like, why did I say yes to this? This is craziness. But you know, I think we have you know, for me it's maybe like a sense of adventure or trying something new. I think you and I, it's like we're trying to get out of our comfort zones and trying to grow and learn. And you know, so it's you're taking on these things just to see. I mean, I might not become a professional MC at conferences, but you know, it's just something to try on and try something new, and you know, and ultimately, yeah, learn from.
You mean you actually slept before you were going to go on stage? Because I swear 2 weeks before it happens, I don't sleep and I have to come off of coffee. I mean, I don't know about you, but that's what happens. I mean, let's just be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, we have to be honest that coffee is, it's the main support system, but
actually, when I'm about to go on stage or when I know I'm going to go on stage a couple of days before, I change to matcha. So I drink green tea matcha lattes because it gives you the same energy boost as coffee, but it actually doesn't give you the jitters. So that is my secret, people. If you're going to go on stage, you've got a fear of public speaking and you haven't been sleeping, drink green tea matcha lattes. Mine's with coconut milk because I do have a sensitivity to dairy. And get it from Starbucks. I've been told if you try to make it yourself,
it comes out.
Doesn't go so well, and you might put too much matcha and it really doesn't taste very good. So anyways, back to last Sunday's post. I know we've got some people here from Ghana, West Africa, India, people who are joining us. Thanks so much for joining us, Daniel, Selva, and so many more. We've got a lot of great people on LinkedIn. Plus, we've got some people over on YouTube. Sheikh Tanvir is joining us on YouTube as well. Thanks for joining us today, guys. This is really just a half an hour conversation. There's no real agenda. We've got some top stories about supply chain that we're going to be talking about, but also we're going to be talking about entrepreneurship and mindset, like I said at the beginning, because I'm much more than supply chain. I mean, you know, and I want to share my thoughts on some of the things that I'm working on and that I go through as an entrepreneur. And again, this was really inspired by the Thoughts and Coffee post that I do every Sunday morning. And so last Sunday, I talked about Nike's famous phrase, just do it. And that's what I have up on the screen right now. I said that it's so iconic, right? Because we know it globally as a symbol. We know it as a mindset, as a company. And I don't know about you, but I've always been driven by progress, not perfection. And so some of the examples that I gave was, you know, way back when, we're going back like 3 years ago when the podcast was called Two Babes Talk Supply Chain and I had a co-host. Our first episode, we tried to do it on Skype. The video was horrible. The audio was not very good either. You know, Andrea Stortz was a champ because she stuck with us through the whole thing and let us, you know, release that video and that audio. I think you could probably still find it on YouTube, but we did it anyways. You know, my first live stream, I had no idea what I was doing, but I went live anyways. And I think, you know, some of the things that I've learned along the way and that I wanted to put into that post was, you know, people respect the fact that you're trying. You include them in the journey. You let them know, hey guys, you know, I'm not perfect. It is what it is. I'm going to try out something. If it works, great. If it doesn't, oh, well, let's move on and try something else. And leave your personal biases at the door. So many times I think we get caught up in thinking about what people are really going to want, what people are looking for, or maybe if I say this, it's not going to be perceived well. If we get out of our own head, get out of our own way, get out of our personal biases, I think people are definitely going to surprise us with, how they're going to react. And, if you're authentically you, I think that it really makes a lot of difference. What do you think, Audrey?
Definitely. Definitely. I mean, we can't, we kind of come into these sorts of new media thinking that there's a way to do it, or that other people are doing it, in doing X and we're going to do Y, or we're trying to assume, a lot of the times I catch myself trying to assume what I think people who follow me are interested in or what they want to know about. And I really find that when we're sharing things on LinkedIn, or when we're talking about certain issues, sometimes there's just a vibe that's happening, and the people who need to hear it, you're putting it out and people need to hear it, and there's an alignment to it. And maybe that's a bit woo woo, but like, I just think, when you're coming from a place of that authenticity and well-intentioned, and that you're trying to leave your audience with, kind of an outcome or a learning that you've achieved, then I don't think there's really space to think like, oh, well, maybe they wish I'd done it this way, or maybe they wanted me to say this or talk about that, because, we have so much engagement now too. So if there is something that people are curious about, they're going to reach out and ask.
Yeah.
And so you're going to get that feedback. I think there's a lot more feedback now, and we assume that it's like, I'm doing this video or I'm doing this presentation, and it's just me kind of putting it out there. And I've found that there's actually a lot more engagement and resonance with what I'm doing. So it's exciting. And
it is really exciting.
The more you are, like, you're the only you. So, that's special in itself.
It's so true. So true. So Dicey says hi. Chris says hi from Phoenix. Scott Luton. Good morning, Scott Luton. He says, good morning, Sarah and Audrey. Thanks so much for joining us. And Adebayo is also joining us today. He has an amazing show, and so does Scott. And Dicey's actually going to be joining us for the conference coming up on June 25th. So really, really excited about that. Thanks so much for everybody to join us. Now we're going to get into some of the supply chain hot topics that Audrey knows nothing about. She's done absolutely no prep, except for maybe on the happy hour that we were on last Thursday, because I mentioned some of these things. So I'm going to share my screen again. It was this one. This one drew my attention so bad. So people are apparently so distraught by the food supply chain right now during COVID-19 that they are buying chickens. Like, buying chickens is up 500%. 500%. And the feed stores actually have to put a limit of how many chicks they can actually buy, because they're running out. They're also running out of feed. And I know when you and I talked about this the other day, you were saying something about the poop. Like, people really need to consider.
I'm just curious. Like, have you, I know it seems like an answer to a short-term problem of you're out of eggs for your crazy COVID baking, but what about the cleanup and it's animal husbandry? What are you doing? I don't know. It's not something I would go for, even if I was kind of short on eggs. Like, I feel like I would just wait it out or try a different store. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, you're in Toronto. You're allowed to have, I think, 4 chickens in your backyard, and people are totally doing it. There's someone around the corner from my best friend who has like 4 chickens in the yard. But yeah, what about the cleanup? Well,
I think you said something about like you have one compost right now without chickens, and if you get chickens, you need to add 2 more because of all the cleanup.
Well, because you can't just leave it lying around, right? Because that's its own kind of bacterial.
Oh, yeah.
I guess. Yeah. I don't know that much. I'm not an expert, but it was just kind of the first thing that came to mind was like, okay, now you've got the eggs and you've got the feed, but then what happens? Like, what's the next part of that cycle?
Well, and it's so funny because we went from hoarding toilet paper to hoarding chickens.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
we went from one thing to another. And I know, so this Friday on our TGIF social interactive with the Trade Squad at 1 p.m. Eastern, if you haven't signed up, we do have the registration link over on the Let's Talk Supply Chain LinkedIn page. We're going to talk about where's the beef, and we're going to be talking about, we're actually going to be doing a poll about toilet paper and how people have hoarded toilet paper and how you feel about it, and so much more. So definitely come and join us on that, because it's going to be myself, Audrey, Leah, and Holly. And then we're going to be inviting people up to the virtual stage to join us. Whoever wants to join us on stage, we want to have them part of the conversation. We want people connecting with people, being part of the chat. We've got polls.
Yeah.
We've got clips happening. So much happening on Friday. It's going to be fun. So you might want to join us for that one. It's free to register. But some of the other things that they were saying was the upfront costs of chickens that people might not realize is about $400 to buy like the coop, if you can find a coop, because apparently all the coop makers are totally sold out. And according to my brother, I was talking to him yesterday, he said that people are buying dog houses and turning those into chicken coops. So if you're thinking of buying chicken,
innovation.
Yeah, if you're thinking of buying chickens and you can't find a coop, try a doghouse. So it's about $400 to get started, and then it's $35 a month in feed. Or there's actually a company in Toronto that you can rent chickens as a service. Did you know that?
Of course.
You did know that?
So
I had no idea until I read this article. I was like, chicken as a service? Are you kidding? Or chickens as a service? But apparently their wait list is 175 people deep.
Oh my gosh.
So people are going.
That's also Toronto. It has a too long wait list. Yeah, that's what it's like living here.
But people are going cuckoo for chickens. They're also going cuckoo for dogs, because I was talking to somebody and they said in 4 days they shipped out 1,100 dog beds, and that was just in Canada alone. 1,100 dog beds in 4 days. Like, I just hope that after this pandemic, people are going to be keeping their dogs as they go back to work.
Worry, like the holiday worry, right? That you make this big decision at holiday, and then it's like you come back to your real life and it's like a dog does not fit, right? We didn't think
Yeah. So John says, good morning. Good morning, John. And Memory is here. Thank you guys for joining us. James J. Curtis. Thanks, guys. Daniel Stanton. Good morning, everyone. We hope you guys had an amazing long weekend. I actually forgot it was the Canadian long weekend last weekend and booked my whole Monday. So I was on Zoom on holiday Monday for probably like 9 hours. So I decided to take a couple of hours yesterday. So I was also celebrating some of your Memorial Day weekend here in Canada yesterday. So the next story, I think, that kind of goes hand in hand is this one. So the coronavirus is, we've got a boom in crisis gardening because people are also afraid, again, about the food supply chain. I mean, do we really need to be afraid of it? I don't know. I mean, people were already, gardening and, planting fruit, vegetables and growing their own vegetables and, all of that prior to the pandemic. But I think this has really shone a light on, what's happening in the food supply chain and what we can really do ourselves to be sustainable ourselves. What do you think?
Well, yeah, it's a control issue too. I mean, despite like we're kind of in the industry, right? Like we're in the supply chain industry, so we have a better understanding, I think, than the average consumer of sort of what the supply chain is, how distribution centers work. So, if you were in Toronto, for example, right before this started, there was a Thursday when they kind of, here in our province, Ontario, they said that the kids were going to take an extended March break. Well, that Thursday, everybody went out and sort of bought up the stores. So it looked frightening, and I think we have to acknowledge that kind of uncertainty makes us, it's scary. It's stressful. It's worrisome. So I think a lot of people, we can't control the virus. We can't control what's happening, maybe with testing, maybe with anything else. But what we can control is sort of our immediate circumstances. So we can control that, what we're trying to work from home, or we can control trying to grow food. So I think it's, it's maybe more of a coping mechanism than it was, in the previous months. Like it's a great idea all around. It's great
Yeah.
to, be gardening and doing it this way. But I do think it's one of those fear responses that, we kind of can acknowledge that we're all just trying to control something now.
Well, and
this
it
is a great way
also,
to
I
do
think,
it.
yeah, and we've got to realize that it also affects other parts of the supply chain, right? So, you're focused on the food supply chain and the eggs, for example,
Yeah.
but then we've run into an issue of supply on that side, right?
Yeah.
And now in the crisis gardening article that we're looking at right here, we're running into seed manufacturers not being able to produce seeds fast enough. Right?
Yeah.
So then you take it into a whole different level and a different aspect or potentially industry of supply chains that traditionally have not had this kind of growth. And now you're expecting them to grow exponentially and then get upset that they're not being able to meet demand. I mean, we've got to understand that if we take from one side, we're going to be, messing things up on the other side. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and it's something, especially in food. I mean, it's not like, like my experience, we make lipsticks and things like that. You can just run more plastic pieces. You can run more paperboard items. You can kind of, like even toilet paper, it's fairly, like you can kind of run a bit more, but seeds, you can't really run more seeds. You have the seeds that you have, you have the seeds that have already, a lot in farming is bought in advance. So farmers have to commit to these seeds. I mean, like months, even a year in advance. And then it's, we're getting mad because it's like, you don't have this tomorrow. What about next week? It's like, no, we won't have this for months. We just don't have it. And same with chickens. You can't just get a chicken, right? Like they grow.
Yeah. Can I ask you a question? I've been told that because of the masks that we're wearing, lipstick sales have gone down because nobody's really wearing lipstick.
That doesn't surprise me.
Really see it. Are you seeing that?
No, of course not. We haven't seen that yet because we're more behind the scenes. We work in advance, so maybe anything that we've done might be in stores now. But yeah, that's kind of an expected trend, and it's certainly we've seen. I had a great conversation actually. Was it a couple of weeks ago? I don't know, 3 months ago. Who knows what time? But recently. And we were talking about beauty trends, and it's like things that you can do at home, a lot of the do-it-yourself products, or things that you can do because now you have a bit more time, like masks, and hair masks and things like that, more treatment stuff. Those sales are going up, and then things like color cosmetics because you're not really going out of the house, and then now that masks have really kind of come into play in the last month. So yeah, anything that's a lip product, unless it's like unless you're seeing like a balm, and moving to non-tacky formulas because you don't want it to stick. So there's room there, right? There's room there for a new product, but it's probably not going to be like, bright color cosmetic because what's the point, right? It's going to be more nourishing because I do find when I'm wearing a mask, like you do have that dryness.
Yeah, it gets really dry.
On you. Yeah, so anything that's going to be moisturizing or also like anti-acne or inflammation is going to be hot, where color lipstick is going to go. But like I expect to see some crazy eye makeup trends, and brows are going to continue to be.
I love it. I love it.
My hot take from my
I need to get more on my eye game, I think. To keep up with the
all
trend.
About the brows, right? Yeah, I just try to have two, but other people really go nuts with it. So
the brows. I mean, right now nobody should be judging brows. I mean, especially not mine.
You can't judge right now.
That is not allowed during the pandemic.
We have not had any professional help with this, so no, you can't touch it.
Well, I was talking to somebody the other day. They said they took a straight razor to their eyebrows, and I was like,
no.
And she was like, it worked out perfectly. I was like, maybe for you.
But I'm talented.
I'm going to end up involuntarily with one of those notches that the younger crowd thinks is a trend.
Yeah, no.
It's not going to grow back. You watch. So anyways, the other article, just wanted to actually share
Yeah.
this article with everybody. If you haven't read it, you might want to read this Forbes article. It talks a lot about
Oh,
procurement
Forbes.
and how people are changing the way that they're buying raw materials, because a lot of times the raw materials are being bought on trade show floors. And because we're not having trade shows, a lot of the procurement is being done online. So a lot of the supply chains that proactively invested in mapping have been able to procure the last of limited resources, greatly minimizing the impact of COVID-19 on their production. So a really, really cool article that if you haven't seen it yet, you might want to check that one out. And then I know, because I'm trying to keep it to about 30 minutes. So I want to go through the last article real quick. And then I want to do a recap of what's happening on Let's Talk. So again, this is another Forbes article. I mean, Forbes is killing it from a supply chain perspective. They are putting out so much great content. And I know we've been talking about, AI, robotics, machine learning really coming out strong after COVID. And obviously, replacing and not really replacing jobs, but making things a lot more efficient, helping to change some of the processes. And so this is a really great article for anybody who is looking for more information about that. Some key points here, if I can get my computer to work with me. The coronavirus outbreak has thrust automation into the spotlight like no other time in history, and this interest will only continue to accelerate. That is from John, VP Robotics at Corber Supply Chain. As far as the manufacturing of large durable goods like washing machines and things like that, supply chain resiliency abetted by new robotics-related technology is coming into play in this space as well. Being able to retool and reprogram robotic arms has been critical to a major part of the U.S. supply chain, specifically in terms of allowing the manufacturers of durable goods to keep making them. So just a couple of highlights from this article. I'm going to actually include the links in the Let's Talk Supply Chain LinkedIn post so you guys can have access to these articles, but a lot of great information and news coming out on supply chain right now. Okay, so before we go, just gonna do my recap like I usually do every single Tuesday. So this week on the show, I am featuring Chris from Right Sized Inventory. He is talking about optimizing your inventory in minutes. They are doing real life simulations, which he talks about in the episode. Some really, really cool stuff that they are doing. So go and check that out. It's episode 117. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, SoundCloud, you name it, we're on it. So go and check that out, or under podcasts at letstalksupplychain.com. Tomorrow's question of the week. So over on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram for Let's Talk Supply Chain, we are asking globalization or not to globalize. What's the new future of supply chain? I think that we're talking about this so much, and I'm not quite sure what's going to come out of it. I think it's going to be a hybrid model, like everything else, right? We were talking about, I'm just going to, there we go. Got it. So we've been talking about, nearshoring some products, shopping local. I know Irina Roska did a supply chain minute last week on the survey that came out that said Americans do not want to buy foreign manufactured goods. So there's a lot of talk around this, and I want to know what you guys are thinking. So look out for that tomorrow morning on Let's Talk Supply Chain, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram. So much to talk about. Thursday is a huge day. So first of all, we start off the day with the Supply Chain Minute with Irina Roska. Amazing insights. Then at noon, Audrey Ross and Irina Roska and Jay Fortenberry are joining me for a webinar with FIT, the Forum for International Trade Training, and Supply Chain Canada, which is going to be so much fun. And then at 2 p.m., I am joining Mike Cadieux from Procurement Foundry, as well as some top-level executives in cybersecurity. And we're going to be having an amazing conversation in a webinar format, but we're also going to be live streaming that as well. So if you're not subscribed to the Let's Talk Supply Chain LinkedIn page, go and subscribe so you'll be notified when we go live. Thursday afternoon, we've got a Woman in Supply Chain blog sponsored by Optessa. We are featuring their COO, Vidya, and her journey to success, which is super, super amazing. It's actually already available under blogs at letstalksupplychain.com. But if you want to wait for the post, it's coming out Thursday afternoon. Friday is our TGIF Social Interactive. Where's the beef, people? Where is the beef? Come and join us. We want to bring you up onto the virtual stage to have the conversation with us. We're going to be sharing clips on social media, so that's going to be a lot of fun too. And then just coming up in general, I've got a webinar coming up with Apex Logistics, Optessa, Supply Chain Now. Shout out to Scott Luton if you're still there. We are going to be doing a Twitter chat over on the Let's Talk Supply Chain Twitter, June 11th. Audrey Ross is joining us again. You are a champ. Like, talk about trade best. I can't do anything without you, I swear. And then on June 25th, we have our one-day virtual supply chain conference. And I'm going to share my screen again because I want to show you the agenda.
Really exciting.
It's amazing. We've got a lot of amazing people. Let's see. Some of our speakers, we're going to start the day off with an economist giving us an overview. Senior Director of Google, Irina Roska, Audrey Ross, Greg White, Daniel Stanton. And we're doing a startup showcase in the afternoon. So we're going to give all these new innovators and supply chain startups some time to talk about what exactly they are doing. And we've got a huge lineup. So go and register for that. Yeah, if you're a practitioner, it's free for you as long as you join Procurement Foundry. If not, it's only $99 to join us for this amazing day of so much fun and information. We're going to be, I think we do have a session just on how supply chain and procurement can collaborate. We've had so many people asking about that. And so we've got Ace Hardware. So we've got supply chain and procurement from Ace Hardware with Daniel Stanton having to have this major, they're coming together to have this major conversation of how we can collaborate. And everybody knows how much I love collaboration. So come and join us, register. We're going to have a great time. You're going to have a great time. And we can't wait to see you. Otherwise, I mean, the podcast is jam-packed with people this month or coming up in June. And I have Airbnb coming up on the show.
Wow.
Yeah, stay tuned. You might be wondering, like, Airbnb and logistics. Yeah, just wait. Just wait. Anyways, thanks so much. We went a little over time, but thanks so much for everybody for joining us for Thoughts and Coffee. This Tuesday, we will be back again live 10 a.m. next Tuesday morning to talk about top supply chain topics, mindset, entrepreneurship, and so much more. Have a great day, everybody.